It's the Monday Night Results Show. Just the results, and nothing but the results. From this past weekend's race at your favorite racetracks, if you're looking for a lot of happy talk and fluff, tune into the Disney Channel. And now, the man with a mind for statistics. Unfortunately, those statistics are usually odds on the ponies in Vegas. Mitch, the Dr. Walker.
All right, yeehaw! I'll tell you what, it's a great night, man. I'm excited. Got a lot of things going on. We're going to jump straight into this. We're going to kick it off with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, here we go. We have got a young man. I talked to him last night. I am excited to get him on here. Just a really, really well-mannered young man. Camden Testerman out of the Arena Racing stables, and he is getting ready to step into a dirt late model. So we're going to be talking to him here in just a little bit. Also, a little bit of bad news. I'm sure everyone has heard. The young man that we talked so much about last week, Mr. Charlie Floyd, he succumbed to his injuries this past Tuesday morning. And the outpouring of sympathy and support throughout the internet world has just been phenomenal. I know we done a missing man tribute to him at North Georgia Speedway Saturday night. One thing that I was touched about, and all the hoopla that surrounded this, and I don't mean that in a sarcastic way, this young man touched a lot of lives. And one of them was Devin Moran. Devin Moran, who runs 99M, changed his number to a 99F with a big green F in honor of Charlie Floyd. Devin Moran parked at 99F in Victory Lane Saturday night at Atomic Speedway and then proceeded to give one of the most touching and professional interviews I have ever seen in my entire life out of a young man. So a tip of the hat to him. Also, real special little bit of results tonight. I don't have the full rundown, but this young lady is very special to me and to many of the drivers who race at North Georgia Speedway. Miss J.C. Nelson competed in the Special Olympics today at Southeast High School, and she brought home some gold and she brought home some silver. So way to rock it, J.C. Tickled to death to know you, and now I get to know somebody who's really a star. J.C. Nelson, medal winner at the Special Olympics today. Great job, and tickled to death to call you my friend. Also, Sugar Creek Raceway is going to be having a reunion coming up. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, and we got some NASCAR stuff we're going to jump into today, some Tony Stewart stuff, some NASCAR stuff, and yes, I have got a list full of safety stuff going on. We got results from Cedar Ridge Speedway up in Morgantown, Kentucky, Peoria Speedway. We've got results from North Georgia, the Rome Rumble, and we've got a veterans results from Lakeside Speedway up in Kansas City. So we got a full show lined up for you. Sit tight. Don't go nowhere. We're going to step out, take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk to a young man who just got him a championship. Don't go nowhere. It's the Monday Night Results Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker. They call me the Doctor, exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Dad, remember that year my birthday party got washed out by the storm? When nobody showed up? And we spent the whole night eating cake and ice cream?
Yeah, I remember. Had to be your worst party ever.
Actually, it was my favorite.
You never know which moments will be the ones they remember forever. So take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 1-877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council. You hear that? That's the sound of America's only sports car. That's right. It's a Corvette. But not just any Corvette. It's your Corvette. It's that who cares if there's traffic part of your day. And this can be you when you come to Cooper Corvettes. With 60 years of Corvettes to choose from, there's always a Corvette in your budget. And they'll service any Corvette you bring in. Cooper Corvettes on Route 1 just north of Quantico and Triangle. Call, click, or visit CooperCorvettes.com.
The Performance Motorsports Network is a compilation of shows about motorsports. From technical to controversial to just fun, everything you like about racing and gearhead stuff is right here on one internet channel. The Performance Motorsports Network. Tell your friends about it.
Hi, this is Denny Hamlin. I want to share with you today a little known but widely pervasive neurological disorder called dyspraxia. It's estimated that dyspraxia affects between 4 and 10% of the general population, and the majority of those affected are male. The condition primarily affects motor skills, but also can affect memory, judgment, and executive function. It's sometimes referred as the hidden disability because it's not immediately obvious to others that the person affected has special needs. My niece Sarah has dyspraxia, and with the proper support in place, she is very successful in school and other activities. Sarah was lucky because she was diagnosed early. Many children and adults go years without knowing. Let's raise awareness for this disability that affects 1 in 11 people. I encourage you to learn more, get involved, and support the Dyspraxia Foundation USA. Thank you.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
It's the Monday Night's Results Show, the internet radio show that gives you the results from your favorite racetracks. And that's it! If you're looking for a lot of happy talk and fluff, go watch NASCAR coverage on ESPN. Now, here's the doctor.
All right, welcome back, and let's jump right in this because I have got a ton of stuff to ask this young man, and I know he's got a story to tell. Joining us on the show right now, 2013 Rookie of the Year and your new reigning champion of the Arena Racing Series, Mr. Camden Testerman. Camden, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Good. How about yourself?
Man, I'm finding a frog hair split 3 ways and sanded.
Oh, I hear you.
So, you picked up your championship.
Yes, sir. Yep. Worked real hard for it this year.
Now, you know, a lot of people may not know what the Arena Racing Series is. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it's held in the Richmond Coliseum. It's about the size of a hockey ring. And basically, you got I guess you would say a half-scaled NASCAR. We got a 29 horsepower motor, Honda motor, and the car weighs about 750 pounds. Basically, throughout the night, we got I think the pro division is 15 and up. You got a 50-lap A main and a 50-lap B main. The A main's top qualifiers. The B main are a little bit slower cars, and if we have enough cars, a C main. And then after that, we got a 30-lap youth race. I think that is 8 years old to 14. And then the top dog is the top finishers of the A main and the B main. And they put all those points up, and that's arena racing for you.
Well, I tell you what, I have been, For the past couple of weeks, I've been watching every video of it I can find. And man, I tell you, that is some exciting racing. I do have one question though. The track pretty much travels with the series, don't it?
Yes, sir. Yep, they actually, we used to run, a couple years back, they actually stopped doing it. We used to run at the Hampton Coliseum also.
Now, what is the surface made of?
It's all aluminum. It's the only bad thing I guess you would say about the track is it can get a little bit tore up towards the end of the year. You know, the bottom of the track gets a little rough edged, and actually we had a couple people getting cut tires towards the end of the year.
Well, I know last night at Rome Speedway down here in Rome, Georgia, they had a couple of cars cutting some tires down there, and my co-host, who normally co-hosts with me, Jimmy Geekas, he walked the track afterwards, and he found about 8 or 9. He said it looked like flint, like you make arrowheads out of, in the track, and it was embedded in the track up next, just above the groove, and that cut down some tires up there. So that could be a serious safety hazard. You know, you cut tires, especially as close as you guys run. I mean, the quarters that you run in, y'all are just bumper to bumper, door handle to door handle constantly. Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, we expect a whole lot of bumping throughout the race, and the only bad thing with that it can get a little heated up in there. But, you know, it's also fun-filled racing for the fans, you know, because you always got collision going on the track. But these cars, they're built, they can be pretty sturdy at points. You know, you just got to basically survive in those types of races, especially at the beginning of the races. You might feel a little, you know, how people like to win the first lap. You just got to basically work your way up and just take it easy throughout the race. And the survival will win you it. I think one of the things that I have always I've worked with a few drivers over the years, and it was taught to me at an early age when I first started racing, is that you can't win the race on your first lap. But there is so many racers out there. I don't know if it's because their chin strap is too tight, their belts are too tight, something's cutting off the circulation to their brain, and they want to barnstorm into the first corner and try to win the race on the first lap, and that just don't happen, does it?
Yeah, all the adrenaline's building up.
Yeah. Now, you tell us. I know you're 17 years old. You've been racing since you were 5, so you got 12 years of competition under your belt. Started out in go-karts, kind of worked your way up through that, and then jumped into an arena car, and you've proven your worth in it, Rookie of the Year, and then come back and take a championship. What's your next step, Camden?
Recently we just got a dirt late model, and I ran my 5th or 6th race 2 weeks ago at Virginia Motor Speedway. And it's a crate late model rocket chassis, and you know, it's a big step up, especially with horsepower. You know, having fun with it and everything, and just gotta get used to it, and we'll see what happens from there after that.
Well, now let me ask you a really hard question here. The first night you got in the crate car, and the first time you'd ever drove a full-size race car, when you buried it off down in the corner the first time, what was your thoughts?
You know, the biggest trouble I had, and me going out there for my first laps, I forgot to tell you this, before I even took it on a dirt track, we actually took it on an asphalt track called Langley Speedway. Uh-huh. It's right around here, and that was a weird experience with a dirt late model. But, you know, it's just getting the depth perception of the car, where I feel like I'm on the track and where I'm actually on the track, you know, because to me, that's the hardest thing coming from go-kart to a little mini cup car. And, you know, just feeling the horsepower behind me and actually turning right through a corner instead of left.
Well, you know, one of the tricks that I used a few years ago, it may help you, it may not. I took and lined up about 20 of those orange cones. And I had my driver come in. I said, now, get as close to those cones as you can. And he knocked down the first 10 of them, and then we set them back up, and he backed up, and he tried it again, and then he only knocked down a couple, and it just gives you an idea how far out there that car is in front of you, because it's a huge difference between jumping from an arena car and a kart into a full-size late model, isn't it?
Oh, yes, sir. Yep. Oh, big jump up.
Now, you've mentioned that you've got 4 or 5 races under your belt. Do you feel like you're starting to adapt to it?
Oh, yes, sir. We're picking up throughout the day, every day. You know, I feel like off the leaders, I'm only a couple tenths off now, I feel like, and you know, just taking my time, and I'm not pressuring myself to go run up all with the field and all that. I'm just sitting in the back, getting some seat time, and seeing I can pick up some lap times, and you know, feel where I feel best at the track. You know, because you know you can run basically any line you want at this Virginia Motor Speedway. And, you know, just learning, especially me, I'm used to with the arena cars for about 3 years with the radio. And at Virginia Motor Speedway, you're not allowed radio, so I got to learn, especially with all the horsepower going down the straightaway, keeping the car a straight line and not changing my lineup too much throughout the race.
Well, now I know you guys run race receivers, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
Well, you know, I always like the race receiver, because as if you sit in the tower, you know, the guy who talks on the race receiver, you can tell the driver all you want to, and the driver can't say nothing back to you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we actually run those. What we did in arena cars is our crew chiefs, or our spotters, I guess you would say, have the race receiver just to help line us up. And the only reason why we voted for our spotters to have instead of the drivers is so we could just focus on our spotters throughout the race or anything.
Well, you know, that's probably a good thing. You know,
Yes,
some of the younger drivers, I mean, you know, they get a little over anxious, and it probably does good to have somebody, you know, number one, to spot for you, and number two, maybe to help calm you down a little bit too, you think?
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, actually, my first 3 dirt races, we went to a little track in North Carolina called Dixieland or Albemarle. And the reason why we went down there is they're allowed radios, and just helped me, especially, you know, I find myself with the arena cars, you stomp back in the throttle. With the dirt cars, you can't do that whatsoever. You know, so much horsepower under you. And they helped me calm me down on the radio, ease on the throttle, and especially just like helping me get by cars, you know. Help me learn passing and all that. Tell me if I'm overdriving it or underdriving it, I guess you would say.
Yeah, because with a light model, you know, one time I put it this way. I said, you know, it's like you drive a leaf spring car, and it's like dancing with your grandma, because it's all finesse. You have to be on the money, on your marks. You go to a 3-link car, it's kind of like dancing with the girl next door. And then you go to a 4-link, and you got to get it up on the bars, and you got to manhandle that car. So that's kind of like swing dancing with your girlfriend, you know. So it's 3 different styles, and each one of them require patience. Now, Camden, this segment's running way too short. If you can hang with me for just a minute, here in a second, we're going to step out and take a commercial break. And when we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit more about some of your plans. Are you good with that?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. I know there's lots of people. I'm already getting questions and messages lighting up my Facebook page, because, as everybody knows, I keep my Facebook page open during the show, and a lot of times some of my listeners will send Facebook pages. Now, real quick, before we jump into break here, because it's coming up, tell everybody how they can follow you on Facebook. You got a Facebook page?
Oh, yes, sir. Yep. To keep up with my racing full time, we have a page called Testerman Racing. I guess you can see how to spell Testerman on your Facebook page. But yeah, just Testerman Racing, or if you want like anything like personal, it's Camden Testerman, just regular Facebook. And either my parents, they have their names under the Testerman Racing.
All right, cool. All right, we're going to jump out for a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about your plans and some of the other things that we got going on. Sit tight, everybody. Don't go nowhere. It's the Monday Night Results Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker, and my special guest, Camden Testerman, right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Getting your child home safely.
Tap your views together 3 times.
Is just a click away.
There's no place like home.
But making sure your child is in the right seat is just one of the steps down the road to safer travels.
I don't know how it works.
Find the right seat for your little one's age and size. There's no better way to get home safely. Know for sure that your child is in the right seat.
How can I ever thank you enough?
Get all the facts at safercar.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, your authority on motorsports of all types. Be listening for the most accurate and up-to-the-minute coverage of every motorsports activity that you enjoy on a daily basis. Be it NASCAR, be it IRL, be it Formula One, be it drag racing, be it dirt track, off-road, props, hulls, whatever. We are your source for motorsports. Performance Motorsports Network.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzzed driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you've practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You could kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speeds, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
You've got it locked to the Monday Night Results Show. Actual evidence that the math you learned in high school can be useful. Now back to the doctor.
All right, welcome back. And real quick, before we get back to talking to Camden, I just want to say, this area, Dalton, Calhoun, Adairsville, Cartersville, up and down I-75 here, today they laid to rest a young man, Rico Wills, way more than just a tow truck driver. Great man. He was killed last week while trying to hook up a motorhome and to get it off the interstate. And the turnout today for his funeral, they lost count at about 75 on the tow trucks that showed up from all over the tri-state area. Police officers, everyone turned out to bid farewell to Rico Wells. Great guy, going to be missed by many. Rico, we're thinking about you and your family, buddy. All right, now back to Camden real quick. Camden, I know that at a young age, when you start racing like you do, it's a big learning curve in addition to keeping up with schoolwork and all the normal things that young kids do, right?
Yes, sir, yeah, especially with me getting up in age now, junior in high school, me trying to get ready for college and all that, and all the adjustment. It's a whole lot to handle, especially with all this winter. We got a full-time winter sport, arena cars, and now a full-time summer thing to do, and also getting ready for college and finishing up my high school, keeping up some good grades. But, that's the key thing is to manage all that And, I find myself sometimes doing homework on the way to track or on the long drives, especially when we used to run go-karts all down the East Coast. I'd find myself doing homework on the way to track or on the way back. But, it's just keeping everything as well organized as possible, and that's what's got me here so far.
Well, it's a good thing to learn organization and to be able to balance your time and to get all your time organized now, because even though once you move on up as you continue your racing career, it just gets more and more hectic the further up the ladder you go. So you're laying a good groundwork for the foundation of it now.
Yes, sir. Yep, that's the hardest thing because, I'm advanced in school a little bit, so I'm taking a lot of college classes here. I graduate with an associate's degree from high school. And, I want to have a backup plan, I guess you would say.
Well, now, have you looked at which colleges you want to go to?
I live near Richmond, Virginia, so I've been looking at either like Virginia Tech or Radford or VCU, somewhere around here.
And what do you want to major in?
I've been looking at a couple of things, especially something like forensics investigating or forensic science, or engineering. Not quite sure what category of engineering I would like to do, or something to do with history.
Well, I think that's pretty cool. I mean, that you've got time to think about it. You're not pressed for time to figure out what you want to do. You don't have to know tomorrow, but also as your racing career is progressing, you seem like you've got the racing thing figured out. And, I think you take a season just to learn the crate cars and learn the dirt late models as you step on up and maybe step into a steelhead or step into a super late model. I think that could be a proving ground and elevate you on up the ladder, because, some of the drivers that I've had on the show, one of the greats that I had, Larry Moore, I had him on a couple of years ago. Him and Buck Simmons were teammates for a long time, and they dominated dirt racing in the Southeast. Everywhere they went, they won. And Larry is still involved in racing. He is a driver instructor and driver coach in ARCA. And he said he does ARCA because he can relax and kick back. And he said, I'm old enough to be retired. He said, but I still like to be around racing and helping the young drivers. Now, do you have anybody that has really helped you in your driving as far as somebody that you can go to?
I grew up around racing, and that's my uncles, cousins, all of them. But, with the arena car, we jumped up, I guess, 4 years ago. The guy named Jason Mandy, he's been helping us ever since then and still is. Just the other weekend, he stayed the night with us and just relaxing and enjoying time. We like to hang out with each other away from the track and at the track. But he's also helped me a whole lot with this dirt car, basically like a crew chief and all that. And, I can't thank him enough. And also a couple people hopped on to help us big time, Billy Hubbard and Bubba Hubbard, to help us a lot with the dirt car. They taught me a lot. Billy's been driving these things for longer than I've been living, and he's been a huge help.
Well, now you talk about your new crew chief going with you from the arena cars to the dirt cars. Do you feel that because you guys hang out together and do things together away from the racetrack, that makes your level of communication that much better at the racetrack?
Yes, sir. We like to have a lot of fun at the track and all that. I consider him like a second dad to me. And, it's helped us a whole lot, especially me communicating to him, like, what's wrong with the car. And he knows, like, what type of driver I am. He always knows I love a loose car. And, just the correlation we have with each other's grew a lot over the years.
Well, loose is fast.
Oh, yes, sir, yep.
You'll learn that in dirt, and a lot of it depends on where you're at, but generally speaking, if you can drive a loose race car, you can drive anywhere. Now, do you have any aspirations of moving on up the ladder and maybe testing your feet in asphalt later on down the road?
Oh, yes, sir. We want to, I'm not quite sure where I want to go with asphalt, but I would like to try it in the future. But for right now, we'll just stick with dirt and see what I can get used to the horsepower. And, we found mostly the reason why we chose dirt is we know the people better over there. And, I still like to go up to the asphalt track and all that and watch and learn. But hopefully we'll move up there soon, maybe a late model coming up.
Well, I know a lot of drivers, and one of the ones that you and I talked about yesterday, Dale McDowell, he is the driver development coordinator for Richard Childress Racing. Any of the drivers that Richard Childress brings up, the first thing they do is make them spend 2 years in a dirt car. And they start them in a crate car, and then they move them to a super late model. And with him constantly coaching them and teaching them and getting seat time, and it's a learning curve. Anybody that can drive a dirt car can drive an asphalt car, but anybody that starts in asphalt, if they try to switch to dirt, they have to unlearn everything they've learned in dirt or in asphalt in order to drive dirt. But when you switch from dirt to asphalt, everything you've learned plays into your favor. So you're starting out on the right track.
Yeah, I heard that from a couple of people already.
It's very, very true. I remember the first time I ever drove on asphalt. I had driven for 12 years on dirt, and they closed Ascot Park, and here I was with a big race car and nowhere to go. And they had a race up at Bakersfield at Mesa Marin Speedway, and where they ran the very first truck race. And I went up there, and I thought, it can't be too much harder. It's just pavement, After dirt gets rubbered up, it's kind of like pavement. Well, $800 in tires later, I decided that I would just stick with dirt, and I would sell my car because I wasn't doing the asphalt thing. So yeah, it's a big stepping stone, and I think you're on the right track. I think you're pointed in the right direction.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Now, when you look at racing, and you look at the balancing act that you have to do, it's kind of like juggling between school and home life and racing and all of that. Do you feel that the racing, even though it adds a whole lot more work to you, and some people may not consider it work, but really and truly it is. Do you feel that racing has made the bond between you and your parents stronger?
Oh, yes, sir. My dad, well, actually my mom's side of the family, been racing all their lives. And when my mom and dad met, my dad really loved racing, and he really got into it. And then I came along, and he put me in a little go-kart. And, it's been, I had a whole lot of fun. It's been, especially with, I have a lot of friends at the track, just like family to me. And, we always hang out, and it just helps build our family together. And, it's a real fun time, and I can always count on the go-kart track or the dirt track or even the arena cars for a fun time and spending a lot of time with my family and friends.
Now, when you now I know this is going to sound funny after just listening to the workload that you have on your plate with school and racing and home life and everything else, but when you want to just kick back and go relax and unwind, what does Camden Testerman like to do?
Especially a lot of my free times, like during the week, school week, because I have nothing to do, I actually get on and play a couple of racing games or a couple of average video games like any other kid, or go outside, play some soccer or basketball. And, I like to go up to the basketball courts with my old middle school friends because I actually travel a good little ways to go to my high school, about 40 minutes. I actually transferred schools to go to a little bit better school tuition. And, I like to just hang out with some friends and or just kick back and relax and play some video games or watch TV.
Favorite food?
My favorite food? My mom makes this really good chicken and rice with this cream of mushroom soup. Cooks in a crock pot all day, and I love eating that.
All right, that was courtesy of Diane in Texas. She wanted to know what your favorite food was. So she also asked me if you were single.
Yeah.
I
Yes, sir,
reminded
I
her
am.
that I said he's only 17. He has not gotten married yet. So yes, he's single.
Yes,
He's
sir.
married to the race car.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Camden, tell us a little bit about your sponsors, because I know that you can't do this by yourself, and being a high school student and the workload you have, it's not like you can go out and hold down a full-time job like a lot of racers do in order to race. So I'm sure you rely heavily on your parents and your sponsors. Tell us about them.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah. Well, for the longest time, at the beginning of the arena racing series, my dad owns a business, Camden Testerman Plumbing, and he's helped me a lot throughout it. But recently we picked up a couple sponsors. One's TNT, Top Notch Auto and Tire, and Todd's a real nice guy and real friendly. It's a little local business and where I live, and probably the nicest people you can meet, help you with anything you want. And he's been actually helping me get other sponsorship as best as he can, and he's also becoming part of the family, going out to dinner with us or just hanging out on the weekday. And we also got a new sponsor, Thompson Accounting, another little local business that's helping us a lot. And, hopefully pick up a couple more throughout coming up to this next race season for the arena car and put someone in dirt car also.
Well, now, one thing that I remember when I got my first sponsor, I just kept thinking, what can I do for my sponsor? What can I do for them? I took them to the racetrack with me once, and they were kind of uncomfortable because they were Gucci loafer and khaki and polo shirt type people, and they didn't fit in real well with the dirt track crowd. But I kept thinking, what can I give them? What can I give back to them to thank them? And a buddy of mine said, man, just give them a picture. And I thought, man, an autograph picture, that's kind of hokey. I took that picture over to my sponsor and I laid it on his desk, and I said, here, Frankie, I said, this is for all that you do for me. This is just a token of my appreciation. Man, you would have thought I handed him the keys to the city. He took that picture, took 2 pictures down off the wall to put that one up front and center in his desk. He said, you got any of them that's bigger? And it was like, I learned then, that the sponsors, they're not looking for really a return on their investment per se. They're just, at a local level, they're not. It's not like NASCAR. But these guys are just doing what they can to help an up-and-coming driver that they are drawn to and they feel that needs a little help. And for that driver to give them a picture back, that says a lot, don't it?
Yes, sir. Yeah, actually, speaking of that, we went over Todd's the other day, TNT, and we actually got in a little bit of a bad wreck earlier this season in an arena car, and we brought him a whole hood, and I signed it for him, and he was real happy about that. But, just paying them weekly visits, checking up on them, and also trying to bring him into, teach him all about racing as much as we can. And actually, he's actually might race next year in the arena car just to have a little bit of fun and, just kick back and relax with us.
All right, well, that's pretty cool. Now, I know you couldn't do all this by yourself. Somebody has to help you turn wrenches. Who helps you turn the wrenches on the car?
Oh, I tell you, ever since I was growing up, from go-karts to the dirt car, it was my dad the most, especially with the go-karts. It was just me and him for a long time. And, he's probably one of the smartest people I know with the go-kart recently. And, growing up in go-karts, they're really big on tires and all that, so we picked up a tire man, and his name is Mr. O'Connor or Mike O'Connor, and I've known him since I was probably 8 years old, 9 years old, and he's a really good friend of ours, and I'm good friends with his kids. They're a little bit older than me, but they still race go-karts and still go out there and have a lot of fun. And once we got into the arena car, we met Jason, and he maintained the car this year for us. And he's done an excellent job. I can't thank him enough. And actually, for the dirt car, Billy and Bubba are mostly maintaining the car, and they're teaching us how to work on a dirt car, because that's a big step up, especially because go-karts, even in an arena car, that's the first thing we drove anything with a spring in it. and we had to learn all about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, buddy, we're up against the break. I'm going to have to let you go. Thanks so much for coming on the show, and keep me posted on how you're doing in the crate car, and we'll follow you all year long.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
All right, man. Our 2015-2016 arena champion, Mr. Camden Testerman, and you can follow him on Testerman Racing. They have a Facebook page, so check them out. Go over there, hit the like button, and tell them a doctor sent you. All right, we're going to step out for a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to jump into some controversial stuff. You know me, I love controversy. So don't go nowhere. It's the Monday Night Results Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker. They call me the doctor, exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speeds, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
The odds of a young girl being discovered by an industry insider while singing to herself pumping gas. 1 in 300 million. The odds of a daughter of a clergyman from Severn, Maryland, spending 11 weeks at #1 on the U.S. singles charts. 1 in 19 million. The odds of going on to win 7 Grammy Awards. 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of selling over 40 million records. 1 in 800,000. The odds of this musician and performer having a child diagnosed with autism. 1 in 68. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference. Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Eric Darnell.
This is David Reagan.
Jamie McMurray.
This is Carl Edwards here for RAD,
the entertainment industry's voice for road safety.
Want to make a difference? It's simple. Be responsible.
Plan ahead. Designate before you celebrate.
Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, your authority on motorsports of all types. Be listening for the most accurate and up-to-the-minute coverage of every motorsports activity that you enjoy on a daily basis. Be it NASCAR, be it IRL, be it Formula One, be it drag racing, be it dirt track, off-road, props, hulls, whatever. We are your source for motorsport. Performance Motorsports Network.
You're listening to the Monday Night Results Show on the Performance Motorsports Network. Racing information at its best. And now back to the Doctor of Statistics.
All right, welcome back. And if you missed it earlier, you can find him on Facebook, Testerman. That's Testerman Racing on Facebook. You can follow his adventures, and very well-spoken young man. And the thing that got me about him was a 2013 Rookie of the Year, and then come back 3 years later and win the championship. Now that's a tough row to hoe, and glad that he was able to do it. And now he's stepping into a crate car. Wish him best of luck, and we will be following Camden as the year progresses. Now, last week, my buddy, Mr. Tony Stewart, got out there and opened his yap, and Tony came back this week, opened his yap about safety. And NASCAR didn't like what he said, and they nailed him with a $35,000 fine. Of course, NASCAR, they ain't got enough money. They got to start finding their drivers for opening their mouth. Well, it comes out today, NASCAR updates the lug nut rule. Now, instead of letting the teams police themselves, which do you really let an inmate run the insane asylum? Are you serious? Sometimes I wonder about Brian France and that bunch down there. But they redone the lug nut rule. Now they sent out a memo to all of the drivers, effective immediately. The rule book updates have been made to reinforce expectations that all 5 lug nuts must be installed in a safe and secure manner throughout all National Series events. Now, it is insane that they come out with these things. Let me read you the rule as it states. All tires, wheels, and all 5 lug nuts must be installed in a safe and secure manner at all times during the event. Now, there's already talk about, they said they were going to hit them with a penalty. They go to the tail end of the longest line if they're caught with it before race, in the pre-race inspection. Okay? They said after the race, it's a $20,000 fine, crew chief suspended for 1 race, and probation. There are already people talking about putting 5 on to start and gluing up 4 for during the race. And they're chasing that millisecond advantage on pit stops. And NASCAR said that they will be inspecting tires down pit road, looking for tires that do not have 5 lug nuts glued up. Now, my big question is this. They nailed Tony Stewart for bringing this to their attention, nailed him for $35,000. The Drivers' Council stood up and said they support Tony Stewart and that they wasn't going to stand by and let this happen. So they footed the bill for the $35,000 fine, keeping Tony Stewart from having to pay it. Tony Stewart said, I don't care. I'm going to speak my mind. That's the best $35,000 I've ever spent. Well, now that NASCAR has changed the rules, and in essence, they listened to Tony, is Tony going to get his $35K back? I very seriously doubt it, knowing NASCAR. But it is what it is, and hopefully, the lug nut gate is done and over with. Now, I do want to, I'm not a big Dale Jr. fan. Never have been, never will be. I think his popularity and his success is based solely on his last name. I do not see any extraordinary talent in him. I don't see that he has anything that any other driver out there don't have. But he is a student of the game. He loves racing history. And this past Saturday, he won the Xfinity Series race. And one thing that a lot of people noticed, he didn't do a burnout. Well, when he was asked about that, it's, why no burnout? He said, I remember Mark Martin saying that he didn't like burnouts, that he thought they were childish and immature. So I took my victory lap. He said, and besides, we need that motor. So it tells you, that he has a lot going on inside of his head. And for him to remember that Mark Martin don't like burnouts and that he wasn't going to do one, I think that's pretty cool. A lot of fans like the burnouts, but burnouts are tough tough on motors. And when you do a burnout, the way they do them in NASCAR, you just as well go ahead and stick a fork in that motor. It's done. But with him having the foresight to not do a burnout, he was able to save a motor. So kudos to him. All right. Now, on my safety soapbox, I know there's a lot of people who get tired of the safety thing. Too bad. It's going to happen each and every week. If there's a safety issue out there that needs to be addressed, I'm not scared. I've got big shoulders. I am taking it on. Now, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I jumped on Putnam County Speedway down in Florida for not having proper safety personnel in place. A fan posted a video of the Gladiator cars, and it was a Gladiator car video that got them recognition before. It's getting them recognition again. There was a young lady turned over, a driver, let me rephrase that, a driver turned over going into turn 1. I've watched this video probably 17 or 18 times, and the last 5 or 6, I done it with a stopwatch in my hand. Now, Gary McCullough, and we're going to talk about Gary here in a little bit. Gary McCullough and the Track Pro Safety team work on a 20-minute or 20-second response time. They want to have hands on the driver within 20 seconds of the incident happening. That is their golden window. I set and I timed the response to this girl's flip, or this driver's flip. The driver crawled out of the car and was walking around on the racetrack after flipping the car. It took 40 seconds for the first vehicle to get there. And all that vehicle was a pickup truck with a driver. No fire extinguishers, no gear bag for a paramedic. And it took them 1 minute and 15 seconds before any of them ever thought about going over and checking the driver. Another driver got out of their car and walked over and stood and was talking to the driver who flipped. So well over 1 minute after this driver flips, before anybody even remembers that there was a driver in the car. Putnam County, that's unacceptable. I spoke with their race director the day after I done the show. The race director assured me that steps were being taken to alleviate the problems that we mentioned before. The race director told me that they were working very hard to improve their safety situation. Well, I checked. They had 15 cars show up for 5 divisions. There was 5 cars in the Gladiator race. So they had a couple of divisions racing with 1 or 2 cars. Maybe word is getting out that that's not such a safe racetrack to race at. Now, Billy Callahan, local racer around here, sent me a message earlier wanting to know how long or how much it cost to get Track Pro Safety team to the track. And I said, well, they normally charge $350 to $400 a night, depending on where it's at. Now, if they have to travel a good distance, then, you know, their expenses are going to be figured into that. His response was the exact same thing that I have said 1,000,000 times. Bring the safety crew in, charge the drivers an extra $5 admission fee into the pits, and be done with it. That way you have the safest racetrack in the area. That way you have the proper personnel and the proper equipment to do battle against a fire. Something that would have possibly saved Charlie Floyd's life. Now, one thing about Charlie Floyd's crash, and I might get into this a little bit later, this car was sitting upside down, nose towards the infield. The fuel cell's in the back of the car. It was leaking fuel. That fuel was leaking down onto the ground and running downhill. Gravity takes over. The fuel was creating a flaming river right underneath where the driver was hanging. I am terribly sorry that Charlie Floyd lost his life. I keep his family and his friends and all those that were there at Southern Ohio Speedway that night in my prayers. But with 2 fire trucks sitting there, I wonder, why the hell didn't they turn the car? All they had to do was turn the car 90 degrees, push it sideways, hook a rope to the front of the car and pull it straight so that the fuel leaking out of the car was not running underneath the driver. They said they exhausted all their fire extinguishers. Okay, that's fine. Do something besides stand there with your thumb in your ass. Pardon my French, but that's only the second time I've ever cussed on my show. But back to the matter is, do something. Don't just stand there. That's why Logan Mize mentioned earlier on Facebook in a comment that I made about Track Pro Safety Team. He said, I feel 100% safer knowing that I have those guys on hand should something happen to be able to pull me out of the car. I'm sorry, a guy riding on a four-wheeler with a fire extinguisher don't cut it. Yeah, it would probably help, but it ain't gonna, if the fire gets out of control. Crystal Motor Speedway, they had one this week. Driver got out, car burned to the ground, melted the wheels. Why? Fire department, fire crew didn't have nothing to put it out with. Once it got into the fuel cell, they were done. Stick a fork in them. They gave up. Driver was out, let the car burn. I understand that cars can be replaced, but their PA announcer made a comment that I thought was really stupid. Glad driver got out of the car. Cars can be replaced. Yeah? Well, what if the driver had been knocked unconscious? What if the driver with a broken arm or a leg and couldn't have got out? Are they all going to stand there with their thumb in their ass then? That really ticks me off. You got guys like Gary McCullough, Brad Aikens, Boone Livingston, Cody Peoples, those guys that work with the Track Pro Safety Team. I have no doubt in my mind that geared up the way they are, they're going in that fire, they're bringing the driver out or they're going to die trying. I have no doubts in my mind that every one of those guys with Track Pro would do that. Because that's what they do. Firemen run towards fires while everybody else runs away. And I think more racetracks need to start taking notice. And if all this rants that I do and the fact that young Charlie Floyd lost his life to a fire like that, if it makes one little smidgen of difference, if one racetrack updates their fire equipment to be able to battle something like that, all of this is worth it, and Charlie wouldn't have died in vain. Don't let no more drivers die in vain. All right, it's the Monday Night Results Show. My name's Mitch Walker. They call me the Doctor, and you're listening to us exclusively on the Performance Motorsports Network.
I'm NASCAR driver Bobby Labonte. At 200 miles per hour, many unseen dangers can arise in the blink of an eye. That's why we have spotters high above the track. They help drivers avoid trouble. Parents need to play the same role when it comes to kids and computers. As a parent, I know the internet can take kids to wonderful sites for learning, entertainment, and fun, but it can also lead to danger.
Here are some safety tips. Keep the computer in a family area where you can see it. Proactively teach your children never to share personal information online.
My turn.
Become knowledgeable about signing on to websites, searching for information, and using email and instant messaging. Doing so will help you recognize potential dangers. Familiarize yourself with safer websites and post that list by your computer.
Like our spotters, parents are best positioned to see the dangers kids could face online and to help them avoid them. Make a commitment to keeping kids safe online.
A message from WebWise Kids and Ask.com.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Travel is part of the American way of life.
When we're on vacation, we keep an eye out for anything that looks out of place.
Miss your bag. When we travel from city to city, we pay attention to our surroundings.
Everyone plays a role in keeping our communities safe.
Whether you're traveling for business or pleasure, be aware of your surroundings. If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Hi, this is Ozzy Osbourne. For many years, you know I've had a drink problem and I'm trying to battle that problem every single day. But one thing I don't drive my car when I'm drinking. I get someone to drive me. Do not drink and drive. It's the stupidest thing. If you drink, just don't drive. Not only are you going to hurt yourself, you may hurt some other person, and you wouldn't want that on your conscience, would you?
A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Flag-to-flag coverage? We don't need no stinking flag-to-flag coverage. The results, and nothing but the results. Now back to the doctor.
All right, welcome back. A couple of good things that I do want to pass along. I just got confirmation tonight that midget driver Shane Cochran is going to be coming on an upcoming show. I'm going to be talking to him this week to line up the date, the exact date. We'll get him on. And there is another young man who we are going to be working to get on the show, Parker Blankenship out of Florida. Young man who, much like Camden, young man who loves racing and is looking for some help and sponsorship, and we'll be getting him on an upcoming show. Hopefully we can get him on next week, and I think he'll be a good interview, so keep that in mind. Him and Shane Cochran, get them both on the same show. Now, one of the things that I mentioned earlier, I said we were going to talk about Gary McCullough again. Lots of you know Gary is a personal friend of mine. He's my brother from another mother. Gary runs Track Pro Safety Team. These guys they've been together for 14 years. They are dedicated to yanking race car drivers out of race cars. That is what they do. Well, there is a new system out. It may not be new, but the application of putting it on race cars is relatively new. It's called CAFS. It's compressed air foam systems, and it's a fire suppression system that would probably help a lot of racetracks out. The system is relatively expensive, but the protection and the ability to put a fire out is just unreal. It uses a fire retardant foam, and it's put on, or the application is by a centrifugal pump or an air compressor, something that pumps it out and shoots it out like a fire extinguisher would, but at a higher rate. And they are the stuff. And the system is about $6,500. And my buddy Gary McCullough is looking and trying his best to find a sponsor, somebody who will help him out with getting the CAFS system on the Track Pro safety team's gear wagons. And man, I tell you what, it is it's impressive. If you haven't seen it in action, go to the Safety Equipment Exchange page. I have a video from Slinger Speedway. They have bought one. They have one there, and they have a video of how it works on a fuel fire. So if you get a chance, stop by and check it out. I think it's a great addition to any racetrack that is serious about protecting their drivers, and all racetracks should be. You know, man, 3 or 4 times in the past couple of weeks, I have got into discussions about safety at a racetrack and the track's responsibility of providing a safe environment. And a couple of the racetracks that I have talked to about this, the first words out of their mouth is, well, that's expensive. Yeah, so is a dead race car driver. Not just from a legal standpoint, but from a conscience standpoint. Now, if you're a promoter, a race car driver dies at your racetrack because you were too damn cheap to spend money on a safety team, can you look at yourself in the mirror each and every day that you get up and knowing that your worthless butt is still sucking air while there's a race car driver out there who's pushing up daisies? And his family, his children, his mother and father have lost one of their own because your cheap ass was too cheap to buy the proper fire equipment to take care of something like that. Can you do that? I mean, can you look at yourself in the mirror? I know I couldn't. So, with that being said, if it's too expensive for you to have, then maybe racing is not something you should be involved in. You say, well, I'm just trying to give people a place to race. That's fine and good. But if you can't foot the bill to bring in a safety crew or the equipment to fight fires, then you have no business in racing. It is what it is. Harsh, yeah, it is. But so is the stark reality of a race car driver losing his life. All right, we got some results. Let's look at them and let's see what we can get into here. The Rome Rumble last night, Rome Speedway, Rome, Georgia. Now, I just got these in. I'm going to do my best to keep the running order correct. In the super late models, in a bad fast car who made a pass right towards the end of the race to take the lead, the number 44 of Chris Madden. Second was Shane Clanton. Brandon Overton was third. Mike Myler was fourth. Fifth was Casey Roberts. Sixth was Ivan Lloyd. 7th was Derek Ellis. 8th was Jason Croft. 9th was Jake Knowles. 10th was Chris Ferguson. 11th was Joey Armistead Jr. Dennis Rambo Franklin was 12th. 13th was Luther Jenkins. Cody King was 14th. 15th was Austin Horton. 16th was Anthony Sanders. Kenny Collins was 17th. TJ Reed was 18th. Zach Leonardi was 18th. Dale Thurman was 19th. Glenn Elliott was 20th. Doug Stevens 21st. TJ Britton 22nd. Tyler Millwood 23rd. And there are 4 names that got the big DQ. I do not have the details. I do believe that it was due to either mufflers or weight. I'm leaning more towards weight. We will get to mufflers in a minute. Those 4 that got the DQ, Billy Ogle Jr., Doug Stevens, Buster Goss, and Jamie Perry. All right. In the Steelheads, here's where the mufflers come in. Young man went down there and put a whooping on them. Brand new race car, brand new motor, goes down there, dominates the race, and gets protested. Why? Because he didn't have mufflers. Mufflers give you unlimited horsepower. Mufflers kick your butt. But rules are rules. Aaron Shaggy Wilson won the race, but was protested by Austin Smith. And due to Shaggy not having mufflers, they DQ'd Shaggy, Aaron Wilson. They DQ'd him, handed the win to Austin Smith, and it was handed to him because he sure didn't earn it. Jason Smith was 2nd. Joey Armistead was 3rd. Jason Williams was 4th. Chris Fennell was 5th. Mario Gresham was 6th. Scott Hall was 7th. 8th was Matt Larson. 9th was Rob Johnson. 10th was Andy Morris. 11th was Don Jenkins. Corey Hillman was 12th. Aubrey Merritt was 13th. Joe Hillman was 14th. Billy D was 15th. Jeff Fields was 16th. Oliver Gentry was 17th. And Nikki Prosser rounded out the 18-car field. In the crate late models, it was the 85 of Tom Maddox taking the win. Andy Picklesheimer was 2nd. Bubba Pollard was 3rd. Mike Bruner was 4th. Trey Wood was 5th. Drew Devers was 5th. Henry Ward was 6th. Shane Smith was 7th. Thomas Watson was 8th. 9th was Bill Fry. Jesse Goss was 10th. 11th was July Turner. 12th was Jackie's Daniel. George Wilson was 15th. Ricky Waters was 16th. Kyle Cochran was 17th. Andrew Littleton was 18th. Jeremy Holtzclaw was 19th. And 20th was Shane Chitwood. All right, in the Super Bombers, it was Michael Brewer taking the win over Daniel Brewer. Petey Cochran was 3rd. Blant Duke was 4th. Clyde Alexander was 5th. 6th was Matt Thompson. Chris Ho was 7th. 8th was Tim Williams. 9th was Madison Vogler. 10th was Pete Cochran. 11th was Luke Pilson. John Land was 12th. And Alan Brewer was 13th. And Donnie Thurman did not start. In the Econo Bombers, getting a strong win for a great young man, Mr. Seth Lacey gets the win at Rome last night. Corey Wright was 2nd. Vaughn Casey was 3rd. Ryan Ray was 4th. Andrew Moody was 5th. Dalton Polston was 6th. Harvey Cunningham was 7th. Landon Bagby was 8th. Roger Pilcher was 9th. 10th was Randy Smith. Taylor Cole was 11th. Chris Camp was 12th. Drew Larson was 13th. 14th was Jerry Barnes. Steve Gorley was 15th. Jeremy Williams was 16th. Tyler Williams was 17th. And that's how they run them. Now, Rome and Dixie done away with the pony cars. Such a shame. They said it was because there was so much cheating going on and it was just too hard to keep up with it, too hard to police it. Well, what it boils down to is money. Dixie has a curfew. they have to stop racing at 11 o'clock every night, and ponies always run last, so they usually got the short end of the stick anyway. Well, they replaced it with a street stinger class. All front-wheel drive, all has to be bone stock. And so the winner last night at Rome in the street stinger class was Tony Newman. Second was Cody Sisson. Robert Farmer was third. Jimmy Wilson was fourth. Nick May was fifth. Sean Harper was sixth. Charlie Ivy was seventh. Melissa Dempsey was eighth. Tyler Dillbeck was ninth. Kelly Amos was 10th. Brian Dempsey was 11th. And Brian Sisson was 12th. Next event will be May 29th. $6,000 to win super late model race. That's down at Rome Speedway. Now, there are a blue million racetracks across the country who cater to super late models. They cater to the top divisions. If the night's racing runs long and they decide to cut classes, it's usually your support divisions that gets cut. You ask them why? Well, the super guys, they travel much more, and they got more money tied up in their bull crap. You know, these guys in the support divisions, they work just as hard. They spend just as much money. Maybe not $20,000 or $30,000 for a motor, but when you look at it on a per capita scale, they, compared to what they make, they've got tons of money in these race cars. Even though it's a support division like Bomber, Hobby, Cadet, whatever your track calls them. And it really sucks that so many racetracks have started catering to the upper classes. They were supposed to race at Boyd Speedway this past Friday night. Guess what? I think someone said they had 19 cars show up. So, what did Boyd's do? They called the race. They just made it an open practice and give everybody their money back. Now, really? Boyd's is one of the tracks that I've been talking about. They focus so much on making everything fancy. They got TVs set up in the concession stand so that you can go watch a NASCAR race, or you can go watch this or go watch that while you're at a dirt track. I understand it's nice to have nice concession stands, but, you know, quit worrying so much about the concession stands and put a little bit of money into the payout. You know, when you got a payout that pays, say, $600 to win, and then second place is $200, that's a little lopsided. 55% is what second place should be. I mean, any reputable racetrack, that's what it is. And that's one of the things that I have to give Chip Burke credit on. He pays through the field. Now, he might not pay a lot. I ain't gonna lie to you and tell you that he pays the most of any racetrack around here. But when you look at the payout and you look at, say, third through last, it's a whole lot higher than any other racetrack around here. And why does he do that? Because Chip knows what it's like to run at the back. And Chip tries to help these guys out. And he believes it's fair. But, it is what it is. Tell you what, we got some more results coming up. We've still got the Veterans Shout-Out results for Sergeant Scott Pogorski, stationed in Stuttgart, Germany. He loves our app. He's got the app on his phone. Sets an alarm, and he tunes in. So, sit tight, don't go nowhere. It's the Monday Night Results Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker. And you'll find us exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
In 50 feet, turn left. Why are you you driving so slowly?
After a few drinks, I'm taking it slow.
Well, you're not fooling the cop behind you.
What?
Get ready to pay in 0.1 miles.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Do you love the sound of high-revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
This is Paul Stanley from KISS for RAD, recording artists, actors, and athletes against drunk driving. Some of us work months producing a CD, but in less time than it takes to play it, someone will be killed in an alcohol-related crash. So please don't drive when you've been drinking. Plan ahead. Arrange a designated driver. Remember, friends don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, your authority on motorsports of all types. Be listening for the most accurate and up-to-the-minute coverage of every motorsports activity that you enjoy on a daily basis. Be it NASCAR, be it IRL, be it Formula One, be it drag racing, be it dirt track, off-road, props, hulls, whatever. We are your source for motorsports. Performance Motorsports Network.
This is Joey Logano, driver of NASCAR number 22 Discount Tire Car. You know something? You and I aren't all that different. I drive a car, you drive a car. My car has tires, your car has tires. I may be going just a little faster than you each weekend, but we both need to keep those tires properly inflated to stay safe. So be tire smart and do your part. Check your tire pressures once a month and before every long journey.
Visit betiresmart.org. A message from the Rubber Manufacturers Association.
They say numbers don't lie, but we found that with a little tequila and some weed, the timing and scoring people will. Wading through the fog, it's the doctor.
All right, welcome back. You know, there is a lot of servicemen and women who are stationed far away from home, not able to be close to their families, not be able to be close to their loved ones, and most of all, not being able to be close to their home tracks. Young man, I got an interesting email from Sergeant Scott Pogorski, and I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that right. He is stationed in Stuttgart, Germany, and he said that, love listening to your show. He said, used to try to listen to it on the internet. He said, that sucked. He said, but I got the app for my phone. He said, I plug in my headphones and I am there. He said, love your results. He said, and I would love to be your veterans results for the week. So, Sergeant Pogorski, this one is for you, buddy. For all you do so that we can do what we do. From this past Friday night's racing at Lakeside Speedway, Kansas City, Kansas. In the factory stock division, it was Jason Runyon taking the win over Kerry Ayers. Marshall Jewett was third. Kevin Pike was fourth. Oliver Harris was fifth. And Dave Moline rounded out the six-car field. In the Grand National division, it was Nick Newton taking the win over Donnie Brown. Nick Drew was third. Tim Shields was fourth. Don Mars was fifth. Stephen Dribbin was sixth. Marshall Jewett was seventh. And Raven Justice rounded out the 8-car field. In the B mods, and what a field of B mods they had. It was Chad Clancy out of Polo, Missouri, taking the win. Andy Bryant was second. Brad Smith was third. Luke Neiman was fourth. Ed Knoll was fifth. Gene Claxon was sixth. Jake Richards was seventh. Vic Trachenko was eighth. Heath Murray was ninth. Eddie Schwab Jr. was 10th. Blake Pierce was 11th. Terry Bevins was 12th. Steve McDonald was 13th. Patrick Royalty was 14th. Dean Galvan was 15th. Tim Powell was 16th. Mike Tanner was 17th. Steve Clancy was 18th. Anthony Whittam was 19th. Don Mars was 20th. Matt Pugh was 21st. 22nd was Shelby Manth. Dave Moline was 23rd. Jarrett Rose was 24th. Trevor Hunt was 25th. Derek Mahoney was 26th. Colton Stevens was 27th. Chase Galvin was 28th. Jarrett Beach was 29th. And Shadron Turner rounded out the 30-car field. Now, in the stock car division, it was Kevin Anderson taking the win over Jake Newman. Jason Runyon was third. Brett Heater was fourth. Nate Barnes was fifth. Justin Seifert was sixth. Blake Peeler was seventh. Steve Hedrick was eighth. Ninth was Lucas Conley. Vernon Keever was 10th. Chad Walker was 11th. Kevin McGinnis was 12th. Rick Sparks was 13th. Trevor Hunt was 14th. Tom Fogarty was 15th. Gary Donaldson was 16th. And Nick Zinn was 17th. Now, you know, there's been a couple of times where we have been going down the race results and I've ran across the name Mitch Walker. The other day, I'll tell you a quick little story here. The other day, Ashley Gallion, who up until this year has been real big and instrumental in little racetrack up there in Kentucky, she used to really help me out, get me the results every week. She'd keep us up to date on all the events that they were having. And I don't guess they're running this year. Willard Speedway is where it was at. I don't guess they're running this year because I haven't got the first lick of results from them. Haven't heard anything about it. But Ashley made a post on Facebook and tagged me in it. And so I responded and, you know, made the little like button thing. And that got me on the notification list that anytime somebody else posted there, I would get notified. Well, I'm sitting at work one day and my phone goes off that I had a notification. I looked down and it said Mitchell Walker. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. I don't use my full name. That was my dad's name or my grandfather's name, not my name. So I opened it up. Lo and behold, she has a friend named Mitchell Walker. So for Ashley, I bet that's really confusing, tagging one and the other one responding. But hopefully she don't send me no messages that were meant for him or vice versa. But I just thought that was kind of funny, you know, because names they're really out there. And if I mispronounce somebody's name, please do not hesitate to correct me. Now, this past Saturday night, Peoria Speedway, Peoria, Illinois. This one kind of goes out to my buddy Olin Sparks. Met Olin a couple of years ago through Racers Beware. He was scammed on some boots by a Facebook page that was running this big contest. And him as a veteran, he was stationed in South America. He won the boots. Supposed to be supplied by Georgia Boot. Come to find out, Georgia Boot knew nothing about it. And when he contacted Racers Beware, we highlight scam artists. We put this particular page on blast. And we let everybody know what a bunch of scam artists they were. And we contacted Georgia Boot, let them know that a veteran had been scammed out of a pair of boots. that were promised to him, Georgia Boot stood up and made good on an offer that they actually knew nothing about. And they hooked Olin up with a pair of boots. Now, these results are for you, Olin. Olin is a service member. He is stationed in Clarksville, Tennessee, but he is from Illinois. So here are results for my buddy Olin. Peoria Speedway, Peoria, Illinois, from this past Saturday night. In the crate mods, it was Hunter Diebel taking the win over Matt Parrott. Richie Biswell was third. Nash Helms was fourth. Chuck Barnes Jr. was fifth. Daniel Braymeyer was sixth. Shannon Lesky was seventh. Randy Drowns was eighth. And Joshua McKendrick rounded out the 9-car field. In the street stocks, in the A-Main, it was Wally Zander out of Pekin, Illinois. John Ferris was second. Keith Miller was third. Jake Miller was fourth. Mike Shomas was fifth. Sean Leatherman was sixth. Michael Jackson, and I'm sure it's not the singer, he was seventh. Randy Billingsley Jr. was eighth. Tyler Gilmore was ninth. Chad Sauter was 10th. Nick Sell was 11th. Seth Studnicka was 12th. John Jackson was 13th. Robert Cottom was 14th. 15th was Clinton Winchell. Mike Beam was 16th. Tyler Benson was 17th. 18th was Nolan Kaufman. In the Hornet division, and a big Hornet field, Matt Mackey takes the win over Dallas Straunch. Shane Kelly was third. Troy Newberry was fourth. Dirk Davis Jr. was fifth. Steve Jones was sixth. Jimmy Duttlinger was seventh. Corey Nettler was eighth. Zach Nemrick was ninth. Rick Wagner was 10th. Aiden Richardson was 11th. Thad Gee was 12th. Jay Maruza was 13th. 14th was Kyle Deering. Alan Ackley was 15th. Joey Davis was 16th. Ricky Rapp was 17th. Billy Snyder was 18th. Chris Terrell was 19th. And 20th was Danny Oates. In the SB small block late models, it was Matt Shannon taking the win over Zach Cool. James Kermody was third. Jim Hagendorn was fourth. Jeremy Kingsley was fifth. Mike Reeder was sixth. Robbie Ballman Jr. was seventh. Brian Crebo was eighth. Matt Murphy was ninth. Carl Fager was 10th. Cody Wisher was 11th. 12th was Scott Melvin. Jason Hill was 13th. 14th was Rob Ballman Sr. And Raymond Ellis rounded out the 15-car field. In the late model division, it was Rusty Schlenk taking the win over Roger Rahobitz. Todd Bennett was third. Kyle Logue was fourth. Bo Brockway was fifth. John Gardner Jr. was sixth. Brad Stewart was seventh. Mark Larson was eighth. Brian Locke was ninth. Charlie Hess was 10th. Jeff Hartzell was 11th. Jason Wagner was 12th. Russ Adams was 13th. 14th was Robert Cowell. And Shane Allen rounded out the 15-car field. In the modified division, it was Nathan Ballenseffen taking the win over Eric Bruce. Jason Jagers was third. Noah Fall was fourth. Derek Doer was fifth. Chris Moorfield was sixth. Mike Chastain Jr. was seventh. Michael Mennel was eighth. Matt Grimminger was ninth. Mike Brooks was 10th. Randy Lucas was 11th. Shane Meckham was 12th. Tim Hamburg was 13th. Dan Dozard was 14th. Zach Fordham was 15th. And Joe Wagner rounded out the 16-car field. And that's how they ran them up there at Peoria Speedway this past Saturday night. All right. Let's see here. Cedar Ridge Speedway will be our next results. But one thing that I want to kind of point out, because I know we're tight on the breaks and got one coming up. I won't have time to do all of Cedar Ridge. One thing that I want to point out, if you have a event that is coming up at your racetrack, shoot me a message and let me know, or shoot me a message about a reunion that you have. there is a reunion coming up at Sugar Creek Speedway or Sugar Creek Raceway over in Blue Ridge, Georgia. It is coming May 21st. It's 10 o'clock. It's in the pits at Sugar Creek, and it's free admission. Now, there was a North Georgia reunion of the Legends of North Georgia Speedway out at Gordon Brown's farm this past Saturday. I did not get the email about the reunion, and I missed it, and I missed calling it out and letting everybody know about it. Sorry about that, but somehow the email just did not get to me. But if you've ever raced at Sugar Creek or you've ever been a fan at Sugar Creek, now would be a May 25th. Let me go back and look. May 21st would be a great night to get back over there, a great morning, afternoon. Get back over there and reminisce and tell stories and lie about how fast your race car was and how if you could have caught so-and-so, you would have passed him. I love listening to a lot of these old guys. Went to Gordon Brown's reunion a couple of years ago, and there was one table that was set aside for these four guys. They sit there. They had everybody surrounding them in tears. We were laughing so hard because these guys were talking more trash. They talked more trash than Tom Darby and John Young. And speaking of that match race, it has not been put off. We just had to postpone it. John Young drives for Anderson Truck Service, and his home time is very limited. So we are working, trying to find another date at North Georgia where we can get those two together and get them out there and let them go slang some mud at North Georgia Speedway. Now, but like I said, if you have an event coming up at your track, a big race that you've got, you would like people to know about, please reach out to me. I'm the only Mitch Walker in Dalton, Georgia. I'm easy to find. My profile picture is me interviewing Ray Cook. So that might change, but look me up if you've got some news that you would like to get out there. If you have a racetrack, put it this way, if you have a racetrack that has started to focus on safety equipment and has started to invest in more safety equipment after the Charlie Floyd incident, please contact me. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about any updates that racetracks are doing to bring up safety and step the level of their safety program up. I really want to hear from you. So keep that in mind. I think there are a lot of tracks that are diligently working on it. I know two right off the top of my head that are looking into some equipment. I know that they are they're shopping, I understand money's tight and they're willing to turn loose of the money. They're just trying to get the most bang for their buck. And I know that there is one track I received word today that is interested in talking to Gary McCullough and his bunch about getting them down there. Maybe it just may be just a train. It may be to actually work. So we will be following that as well. Huntsville Speedway, man, they're bringing it each and every week. And the drivers over there, the response that Gary McCullough and his bunch are getting from the drivers at Huntsville Speedway is just been spectacular. Hearing some of the things that the drivers are saying, about having those guys over there, man, it warms your heart. It really does. It's cool as frost. And I think one of the things that makes it all possible is a track promoter who is willing to do what it takes and get things done. Takes the bull by the horns, so to speak. And we've got Huntsville Speedway's results coming up as well. So when we come back from break, we're going to jump into Huntsville Speedway, North Georgia Speedway, and I believe there's one more in there, Cedar Ridge Speedway. That's what it was. All right. It's the Monday Night Results Show. Y'all don't go anywhere because I ain't done yet. We'll get back to this in just a few minutes. So sit tight. Grab you a cold one. Grab you a warm one. Whatever you're going to grab, just grab one and get back in your chair. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. It's the Monday Night Results Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker, exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
We're growing like crazy and need account reps who know their way around agencies, the internet, and social media. Got connections? Or do you know how to get to the decision makers? Are you fearless? We need you. Internet radio, or as we call it, wireless mobile radio, is rapidly becoming the place to be with almost limitless income potential. So contact us to get involved with the fastest growing professionally produced group of internet radio stations in the world. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444. Or you can email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm dropping you off at Emily's?
Yep.
And Josh, you're going to?
Soccer, Dad. Soccer practice.
Right. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know when I pick you both up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What? No!
Yep, and my dorky dad hat, and I'm gonna do my dad dance for all your friends. They'll love it!
Seriously? Why?
Because I like my short shorts. Of course, I could be talked out of it if you guys would just buckle up your seatbelts without giving me a hard time.
It's important to get your kids to buckle up for safety, no matter what it takes. And sometimes, all it takes is your parental powers of persuasion.
Okay, we're buckling up. See, all buckled.
Good choice. I'll just have to do my dad dance at dinner time.
What?
No!
Do what you have to make sure your kids are wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
If you're a gearhead and you just can't get enough of your favorite motorsports on that channel on the cable, or you look at that Guy network and you just go, what does that have to do with me? We have the answer. Performance Motorsports Network. Right here on the internet. The best cruising tunes, the best in motorsports programming, and the best shows. We have opinionated hosts, and we like it that way. If you want to get involved, if you want to bench race, be listening for information coming up soon right here on this channel, the Performance Motorsports Network, your source for motorsports.
Just the facts and none of the bull
radio edit.
It's the Monday Night Results Show with the Doctor, only on the Performance Motorsports Network.
All right. As most of you know, I keep my Facebook page open during the show. And my buddy Gary McCullough just sent me a message that kind of pointed me in the direction of a incident that happened Saturday night at Huntsville Speedway. So we're going to run through Huntsville Speedway's results first, and we'll run through these pretty quick. And then when I get to this person's name, I will tell you the story. In the limited late model division, it was John Thomas taking the win over Alan Calloway. Third was Edwin Gurley. Jason Welch was fourth. Larry Autry was fifth. And Terry Myers was sixth. Bobby Castleberry was seventh. Brian Malone was eighth. And Keith Rankin was ninth. In the open wheel modifieds, it was Troy Gray taking the win over Chase Oliver. John Thomas was third. Michael Hallbrooks was fourth. Blake Ferguson was fifth. Brian Lambert Jr. was sixth. Brad Sands was seventh. Bradley Carter was eighth. Ninth was Garrett Finley. And Cameron Berry rounded out the 10-car field. Notice their car counts are getting higher and higher and higher as we go into the season. In the mini modified division, it was Tommy Robinette taking the win over Chris Brown. Mark Saban was third. Jerry Mills was fourth. And Butch Minor rounded out the 5-car field. Why was Butch Minor at the bottom? Because he was involved in a crash. And somebody in the crowd was timing 15 seconds. Track Pro safety team had their guy on the man. And he just sends me another message. He said, 15 seconds ain't bad. Gary McCullough, you guys rock. You, Brad Aitkins, Boone Livingston, and Cody Peoples, you guys are top notch in my shelf. 15 seconds and you're on the man. Man, you just can't beat that. All right, for the rest of the results here. Let me get back where I was at. I almost lost my spot. In the Buzz division, Jay Harmoning takes the win over Austin Thornton. Shane Jones was third. Donna Thornton was fourth. Jacob Barnett, amateur Buzz, was fifth. In the Superstock division, it was Junior Jordan taking the win over David Dean Jr. Brad Malone was third. Caleb Thornberry was fourth. Todd Cagle was fifth. Kenny Morrow was sixth. Butch Rogers was seventh. In the Hot Shot division, Josh Mack takes the win over Jacob Barnett. TJ Baker was third, and Josh Barnett was fourth. And that's how they ran them down at Huntsville Speedway this past Saturday night. So congratulations to you guys. All right, let's run through Cedar Ridge, and then we will jump into North Georgia. Cedar Ridge Speedway, Morgantown, Kentucky, up in the Bluegrass State. In the Bomber division, it was Kevin Ashby over Richard Ashby Jr., and those were the only two. In the Pro Minis, it was Danny Winchester out of Kentucky taking the win over Eric Morrison. Tucker Winchester was third. Mitchell Huff was fourth. And Mouse Winchester was fifth. In the UMP Open Wheel Modifieds, it was Kevin Henderson taking the win over Corey Kellums. Ricky Tinch was third. Blaze Melton was fourth. Lance Walton was fifth. Johnny Madden was sixth. Zach Dennis was seventh. Phil Hill was eighth. And Jared Phelps rounded out the 9-car field. In the UMP E-Mods, it was Sam Murphy taking the win over Jonathan Epley. Chris Shelton was third. Bobby Easler was fourth. James Brady was fifth. Carl Brooks was sixth. Chad Hutchinson was seventh. Terrelton Young was eighth. Jeff Christensen rounded out the 9-car field. In the Street Stock feature, it was Raymond Morris taking the win over Walker Weathers. Dean Cronkite was third, and Jake Bullington rounded out the 4-car field. Big Cruiser field, it was Jeremy Rickert taking the win over Chris Hack. In the Cruisers, Josh Harden was third. Charles Hines was fourth. Lonnie Phelps was fifth. Tracy Hack was sixth. Van Warscher was seventh. Billy Willis was eighth. Pete Dockery was ninth. Nathan Ryan was 10th. Bailey Cornwell was 11th. And Jacob Hampton rounded out the 12-car field. And here's one of my favorite division names, the Rusty Bolts division. It was Jeff Harper taking the win over Jacob Richmond. Mike Boone was third. Josh Phelps was fourth. Richard Ashby Jr. was fifth. Kenny Lindsay was sixth. Brad Ashby was seventh. James Dockery was eighth. Jimmy Hooton was ninth. Trey Simmons was 10th. Kevin Ashby was 11th. Michael Stanley was 12th. And John Howard rounded out the 13-car field. In the UMP Mini Stocks, it was Richard Ashby Jr. taking the win over David Carroll. Chris Lodgson was third. Robert Hutchins was fourth. Kevin Ashby was fifth. Isaac Smallwood was sixth. Travis Bassau was seventh. Rondell Davis was eighth. Aaron West was ninth. 10th was Matthew Wheatley. James Bratcher was 11th. Kelsey Howard was 12th. Brandon Dalton was 13th. And Ben House was 14th. And that's how they ran them up there at Cedar Ridge Speedway in Morgantown, Kentucky this past Saturday night. All right. Now let's jump into, let's see here. North Georgia Speedway. Which one do we want to do first? We're going to do the pony division. Man, you talking about a stellar year, rocking and rolling. The 69K gets win number 2 in his third time out. Keith Hackney, guest from last week, he wins. Marcus Thompson, who give him a good run for his money, was second. Third was Zach Saunders. Dylan Davenport was fourth. Keith West was fifth. Sean Tenpenny was sixth. Seventh was Jimmy Plumley. Brad Gladden was eighth. Billy Stuckey was ninth. James Bragg was 10th. Alexis Cook was 11th. Wayne McCall was 12th. Michael Page was 13th. Matthew Matthew Leonard was 14th. Ben Arnold was 15th. Cody Sanders was 16th. Stephen Campbell, who was fast in hot laps in practice, but something broke in his car, he was 17th. And Shannon Jones rounded out the 18-car field. Yes, I said 18 cars in Pony at North Georgia. In the crate division, it was Heath Hindman taking the win over Henry Ward. Jason Deal was third. Chip Brindle was fourth. Larry Higgins was fifth. Justin Smokey Owens, former guest on the show, he was sixth. Alan Green was seventh. Drew Deaver was eighth. Tyler Adams was ninth. David Duplessis was 10th. Barry Anderson was 11th. David Birch was 12th. 13th was Andrew Littleton. Scott Franks was 14th. Thomas Watson was 15th. David Doss was 16th. Dustin Reed was 17th. And Kelby McAllister was 18th. All right. In the A hobby, pretty much the only hobby, Greg Tinker gets his third win of the season. Logan Walston was second. Mr. Smooth, back after a considerable time off. Young man we had on the show week before last, Delbert Haynes. Derek Franks was fourth. The Sergeant Joe Griggs was fifth. James Maddox back out in a new car. First time this year for him. He was sixth. Bobby Elkins was seventh. Dale Fortner was eighth. Greg Sudduth broke while running second. He was ninth. Bobby Beavers was 10th. William Beavers was 11th. Dan Tracy was 12th. Levi Gary was 13th. And Brent Clark rounded out the 14-car field. In the sportsman division, on his winning ways, his third win of the year, Mr. Spencer Singleton. Josh Walker was running him down. Fine run by former guest on this show, Josh Walker. Jacob Stewart was third. Greg Brown was fourth. Justin Winters was fifth. Ricky Wagner was sixth. Glenn Grimsley was seventh. David Rogers was eighth. Natasha Davenport, her first year in a sportsman car, she was ninth. Bobby Doss was 10th. 11th was John Land. Matt Williams was 12th. Junior Whitener was 13th. 14th was Jesse O'Shields. And Colton Jackson rounded out the 15-car field. And in the super late model division, it was Todd Hernandez in the 6T, set fast time and walked the dog, let it wire to wire. Aaron Wilson was second. Sean Chastain, the X-Man, was third. Justin Shipley was fourth. Chris Fennell was fifth. Scott Jackson was sixth. Casey Truman was seventh. Levi Hicks was eighth. Trig Parrish was ninth. Jim Durham was 10th. Johnny Chastain in a brand new car was out. He was 11th. Jerry Bradley was 12th. And Tim Rucker rounded out the 13-car field. And that's how they ran them out there at North Georgia Speedway this past Saturday night. We had a great crowd. Man, I tell you what, they took Griffin Kinsey, young man who's been around North Georgia for a very long time, who is battling colon cancer. They took up a donation for him. A lot of the drivers come up in the grandstands and pass their helmets around. I was touched by the outpouring of sympathy and the way people reached into their wallets and pulled out the pictures of dead presidents and donated to Griffin Kinsey. Griffin came up topside while I was out on the deck, and I was announcing as he walked up there. I didn't see him coming. He tapped me on the shoulder, and I stopped, turned the microphone off, and turned around and hugged his neck and told him, I said, Griffin, good to see you here. And Griffin's looking kind of rough. I mean, cancer is taking its toll. But as I said Saturday night, and I've said it many times on the show, I wish cancer would get cancer and die. And it's straight up a black flag, hashtag black flag for cancer. Let's get that started and bring some awareness to cancer. But Griffin told me something that I'll never forget. He looked at me with tears in his eyes and he said, Mitch, he said, I have not carried my last checkered flag here yet. He said, I'm not done. I'm going to beat this. And I'm going to come back and I will be racing again. So, Griffin, you're in my prayers, buddy, you and everybody in the family. And for those that don't know, Griffin is my cousin. I was tickled and honored to have him there. And I just want to thank him he had surgery earlier last week, and they just let him out of the hospital on Thursday or on Friday, and he was at the racetrack on Saturday. So that tells you what kind of racer Griffin Kinsey is. And also, we done, in honor of Charlie Floyd, we, in the super late model division, which Charlie ran, we done a missing man formation. We had the inside row backup one, left the pole position spot open, and we made 2 laps in honor of Charlie Floyd and his family. I seen their GoFundMe page was up in excess of $30,000, and the money couldn't bring Charlie back, but Charlie's up there in the great big racetrack in the sky watching down over us, and I'm sure that he is raising Cain up there about drivers, put your gloves on. Drivers, wear a head sock. Drivers, step up your safety equipment and don't suffer the same fate that he did. I know as a racer, from one racer to the rest of you, if that happened to me, that's what I'd be doing. I would say use my death to make others more aware of the safety, of the dangers that are involved in racing and the dangers that we all face inherently that you just can't get away from. It's a choice we make. We understand that going in, but there are precautions that can be taken. And if you got safety questions, join the Facebook page Safety Equipment Exchange. If one of us, the administrators there, and I've got some of the best in the business in there, seating experts, belt experts, fire and safety experts, chassis experts. If one of us in there as an administrator cannot answer your question, we have the person who can on speed dial. I will get you an answer to your question as quick as I possibly can and get it posted back in there to you. Also, I want to welcome a new listener, Mr. John Cox, to the show from up in Tupelo, Mississippi. No, I'm sorry. He's from Tupelo. He lives in Winchester, Virginia, up there helping out where he can. And I want to wish him a very happy day. And thanks for tuning in. All right, we're up against the final break, and I just want to remind you, Racers reunion over at Sugar Creek, May 21st. Gates open at 10 o'clock. It is free. You cannot beat the price. It's free. North Georgia is off this weekend. We will be back to racing on May the 7th with the second night of the Points Challenge. So come on out. Join us at North Georgia Speedway. If you can't make it to North Georgia, I'm sure there is a racetrack close to you that you will be able to make it to. And make sure you take somebody with you. And preferably somebody that had never been to a race before. And if you do take somebody that's never been, make sure the announcer knows it. Because announcers love to go talk to people who have never been to the races before. There's a couple of them that I have embarrassed at North Georgia, but they loved it anyway. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ready to roll on out of here. I want everyone to have a super safe week. May God bless you and keep each and every one of you. Until next week, it's the Monday Night Results Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker. They call me the Doctor, exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network. See ya, everybody.
Y'all ready for this?
The Monday Night Results Show is a copyrighted production of the Performance Motorsports Network. www.performancemotorsportsnetwork.com, a member of the Scorpion Radio Group, Inc., and may not be rebroadcast, replicated, or saved in any media without the explicit written permission of PMN. Check out our Facebook page or our section on the PMN website. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host, co-host, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect those of the management and ownership of either PMN or Scorpion Radio Group, Inc., the advertisers, or the marketing partners. If you would like to hear the results from your local track, or you are a track owner or a promoter and want us to cover your venue, give us a call during normal business hours, 717-749-0444. IM us on our Facebook page or email us at performancemotorsportsnetwork@gmail.com. Be listening again next week as we are talking results on the Monday Night Results Show with the Doctor. For the Monday Night Results Show, I'm Big Mike.